What is up, guys? Welcome to Garage 507. So this is our 1968 Pontiac Catalina two-door hardtop, 400 4-barrel, and this is going to be a little introduction video about it. I bought this car in July of 2021. I was just on Facebook looking through Marketplace, and it popped up, and it was a one-owner car, and it came with a bunch of original papers and stuff like that. And I thought it was a really cool deal. At the time I was working at the dealership that sold this car brand new in 1968. So I kind of thought, you know, if I can get this for a deal, I should probably go pick it up just so I can have a piece of history from the dealership in the town and be a second owner on a vehicle this old. So I went and looked at it. And before I went there, I asked him, I said, how bad is the rust really? And the guy, this is his dad's car. He didn't own it. It was still in his dad's name, but his dad was obviously an older man. Wasn't able to sell it on his own. So I was talking to his son, and his son said, oh, the car doesn't have, it was sitting in a shed, not covered up, just uncovered. He said, oh, it doesn't have any rust. And last time it was parked, it ran. And that's really all the information he told me. But I brought a trailer with me, and I had kind of just planned on picking it up based on what he told me and going from there. So we went and took a look at it, and he had, right before I got there, he had pulled it out of the shed. All the tires were flat, and it was pretty dirty. It wasn't really bad, but it was pretty dirty. And immediately noticed that someone had put mud in a few places on this car. Behind the rear tire here, the front and above that rear tire. There's some down there behind the front tire. Nothing around the door or the front end. And then we got a little bit back here. You can probably see it poking out there. And then around the front and top of this tire too. I think it started right about there. But yeah, obviously it has rust. So I kind of looked at it and I was like, shoot, you know, I'm already here. But you know, it's a little bit worse than I thought it'd been. But for sitting in a shed, and this car hasn't been registered since 2004, I believe. And I think the last oil change, there's a tag in the car, I have it somewhere, that said the mileage of the last oil change, and it had no miles on it since then. And I believe that oil change was done in 2003. So it has been basically 20 years that this car hasn't been driven. It might have ran, but it hasn't been driven for 20 years. There's no more miles on the car. So for that being said, I don't know if this has been repainted or not. I'm not a body man, but the top of this and the hood, except for a couple flakes, and the trunk shines up pretty good. And all I really did was power wash it and wipe it off a little bit. I haven't really gotten in here and done a whole lot of work on this paint. So I left the car there, and I kind of talked myself out of it. But I had kept thinking about it, and I waited a little longer, and I asked him if anyone had came and looked at it or anything like that. And he said, nope, no one had any other interest except for me. And I said, well, he was asking $4,000 for it. Basically a car that was just sitting in a shed. It's all original as far as I know, except for a couple parts. You know, I don't really know what it's worth or what it was worth. But I told him the best I can do is if you help me load the car, I'll give you $2,400 for it. And I said, I'm not trying to lowball you or anything, because said he was pretty stern on his price, but then he accepted that offer, and I came back the next day and we loaded it up and I brought it home, and there it sat. And it kind of sat there for a while. I've never really worked on anything like this. And basically, from a few YouTube videos, I kind of found out how to, work on it. But anyway, I brought it home and immediately found out the motor was stuck. He told me it wasn't, or he thought it wasn't, but I could not get it to turn over with a breaker bar. So I figured it was pretty bad. But anyway, first time I've ever had to deal with that. I took out all the spark plugs and I filled them with, filled the cylinders with some ATF. And I also drained the old oil and I filled the engine with ATF. And I let it sit for, I think about a month. And I wasn't in any hurry, but I let it sit, and then I went out there one day and it broke free with just a ratchet and a socket. So I went in and I hit the starter and I shot ATF out everywhere. Then I had to figure out what I was going to do after that. The starter that was in the car didn't really last very long. Once I got the motor broke free, the starter went out. We replaced that. I got a cap and rotor, plugs and wires for it. And this was actually a 2-barrel car. I have the original carburetor and intake, but I wanted to convert it to a 4-barrel 400. And I had a friend that had a intake and a couple of carburetors to do that. So I bought his intake from him, and I bought 2 carburetors, and both of those carbs were stuck. They must have been sitting outside or something. So I bought a couple used ones on Facebook with no luck, until recently I went out and I bought a brand new one, new Edelbrock for this car. So it does have a aftermarket intake and carburetor. Pop the hood. Okay, so I believe before I went to the 4-barrel setup and I had it, I was trying to I got it to idle somehow. I think I just put plugs and wires in it and got it to idle. Immediately overheated. And I ended up taking the thermostat housing off, and I could see that in the intake here, it was clogged. There's a passageway between the water pump and the intake, and it was completely clogged. So I pulled the front half of this water pump off, and I found out that there was like some radiator stop leak or something in the water pump. And while cleaning that out, the back half of the water pump is the front cover. There was also a hole in the front cover. So I found a used front cover and then a new water pump, and I got that installed. I got the aftermarket intake installed. I got a new radiator, 2 new radiator hoses installed, the carburetor, and when I had everything off, I just sprayed it Pontiac blue. It was blue, but it was faded before. I do have to do a little touch up yet on the engine, but it wasn't supposed to be like a restoration. It was just supposed to look nice, which I think it does. We got the original alternator, or the one that was on the car when I bought it, and we did go ahead and replace the master cylinder. We redid the front brakes, and we repacked the wheel bearings. We greased everything up front. We still have to replace the rear brakes and a couple other little things, but yeah, I'll throw in some pictures and videos that I find from when I was working on this car. But yeah, I thought I had everything off of here in the front, so I shot that black, Pontiac blue, painted the water, the water pump housing, the alternator bracket. I'm still probably gonna do a coat of black. This stuff's gone, so I'll probably just shoot black on here, on the radiator cover, and probably the fenders in the back maybe, but yeah, just so it looks good. And believe it or not, the bottom of this car doesn't have any rust at all. It's mainly just around these back tires. But I gotta lift it up, and I'm gonna clean up underneath there, and I'll probably just shoot some undercoat too, to protect what's there. But no, this is a solid car, and pretty soon it'll be ready to go down the road on road trips. So I'm hoping I can get rid of it to someone who was maybe from Laverne or wants a piece of history. But this car definitely deserves to be driven. Say how many miles we got on here. 92,633 miles. I haven't even cleaned out the interior yet. I think I might have vacuumed it a little bit once, but nope, we still got to do a detail on the interior. And I put some the tires that were on here were a white wall like this, so I replaced them with a similar tire. And I have the Pontiac PMD hubcaps that go on here too. I had thought about switching to the rally style wheels. I have a set of them, but I didn't do that, and I don't think I'm going to. And I believe I'm going to put the original intake and carburetor on before I get rid of it, just so I can hold on to this and the new carburetor in case I come across another project. But yeah, it runs pretty good. Needs a little bit of tuning yet, but you know, it's a great car. And I've always kind of wanted a older Catalina, like a 64. I don't know what year they came out. 62 to 65, I think, is the first generation. One of those, the two-door with the 421. That was what I think I was looking for one on Facebook, and then this was suggested to me because it was a newer Catalina. But yeah, and I'll get this cleaned up yet before summer. I'll go over the paint really good. This stuff will come off, you know, and the paint will come out a little bit. And then I was just wiping this chrome off with a towel, and look at the difference in the shine between the two pieces. That'll shine too. So yeah, and I believe even if I get this chrome cleaned up too, I think it'll look pretty good. And then I'll get those hubcaps thrown on, and I'll get it ready to go.